A federal judge in Georgia is preparing to hear arguments today from Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff to former President Donald Trump. Meadows requested his election interference trial be moved to an out-of-state court and into federal court. Fox 5's Robert Moses joins us live in studio with more details. Good morning, Robert.
Tashani, good morning to you. Mark Meadows claims that his actions, which prosecutors allege were improper, took place as part of his duties as a federal official, and therefore his case should be moved to federal court, where, by the way, the jury pool would likely be friendlier to him. At least 4 more of the 19 defendants charged in Georgia also want their cases moved to federal court. So what happens to Meadows could affect them too. 2 court hearings today will focus on the legal travails of former President Donald Trump and one of his co-defendants. A federal judge in Atlanta will preside over a hearing this morning centered on whether charges against former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows should be dismissed. Failing that, Meadows wants his case moved to federal court. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis argues it should remain in state court. Meadows participated in this now infamous phone call in January 2021 between then-President Trump and Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Raffensperger has been subpoenaed to testify at today's hearing in Atlanta. A second hearing in Washington before Judge Tanya Chutkin will look at when the former president's trial in the federal case, accusing him of illegally trying to prevent Joe Biden from taking office, should begin. Special counsel Jack Smith wants it to start on January 2nd, just 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses. The former president's attorneys proposed delaying it until April 2026. Former President Trump faces 4 criminal indictments. Since he turned himself into the Fulton County Jail on Thursday and authorities photographed him for this mugshot, his campaign says he has raised at least $7.1 million.
There's almost nothing anymore that he could do that would surprise me in terms of the ongoing grift.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has been one of the former president's most vocal Republican critics. All participants in last week's Republican debate had to sign a pledge promising to support the ultimate nominee.
The most amazing part of the debate to me was the idea that, the majority of my competitors believe that you can have a convicted felon as our nominee for president, and that they'd support that and that he could win.
The co-chair of President Biden's 2024 campaign promises to focus attention elsewhere, away from former President Trump's legal headaches.
We're not going to focus on Donald Trump's legal problems. The campaign's going to focus on talking about their record of accomplishments, what's at stake, what Republicans are talking about, like cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, invading Mexico, all of those things that you heard on debate stage, banning abortion nationwide.
And there's a new Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research poll out that shows 77% of Americans think President Biden is too old to be an effective commander-in-chief in a second term. 89% of Republicans say so, but notably 69% of Democrats do too. All of this playing out as this court hearing involving Mark Meadows is set to begin later on this morning. Tashani, back to you.
Robert, thank you.